Did you know that conversational interfaces being trendy isn't new? We've been talking about artificial intelligence since the 12th century. Yes, that long ago. In this video, we will take you through history. You'll find out that the roots of today's AI started over 700 years ago, from the earliest attempts to make logical thinking machines to modern machine learning systems. We promise you, AI isn't just a recent craze. Are you ready to dive in? Have you ever tried ChatGPT? You probably have. It's an amazing technology. Even though it's not brand new, it's still fascinating to be able to talk to a computer in plain language and get responses that are almost like what a knowledgeable person who types really fast and isn't talking to anyone else would say. For people who don't use artificial intelligence every day, it's often associated with what they've seen in Hollywood movies and read in books by authors like Philip K. Dick and Asimov. But the truth is, AI is much more than that. It's been around for almost 100 years and is deeply integrated into our daily lives, providing effective solutions to tasks we do without even realizing it. When we talk about AI being almost 100 years old, we're referring to its earliest beginnings, which go back to the 1300s. That's a really long time ago. In the early 14th century, a visionary from Majorca named Ramon Llull came up with an idea that challenged the way people thought. He created the Ars Generalis Ultima, or Ars Magna, a device meant to mimic human reasoning. While most of his peers were trying to understand the mysteries of faith and nature, Llull had a bigger dream. He wanted to put thinking into a machine. Some people thought his ideas were wrong, but they actually planted the seeds for a big change that took many years to happen. Centuries later, during the Enlightenment, a smart mathematician named Gottfried Wilhelm Leibniz took Llull's idea further. He believed that logical thinking could be turned into math, so he made a machine that could do calculations. It was like the first version of the machines we have now for artificial intelligence. At the same time, in Paris, an engineer named Jacques de Vaucanson made statues that could move. Nowadays, it's not surprising. But back then, it seemed amazing, or even a bit magical. But these ideas didn't go far at the time. It took about 600 more years to see more progress. Some people believe that the concept of artificial intelligence as we know it today truly began with a significant figure in the development of modern technology, Alan Turing. Alan Turing isn't just known as the father of artificial intelligence, but also as a pioneer in modern computing. He came up with many solutions using computers and algorithms, even during the first half of the century. One of his breakthroughs was instrumental in helping the Allies win World War II by decoding secret messages sent by the Nazis through the Enigma machine. In terms of artificial intelligence, Turing made important statements in the 1950s in his paper titled Computing Machinery and Intelligence. He suggested that machines could think if they displayed intelligent behavior across the board. To test this idea, he proposed the Turing test, where a computer's responses are compared to those of a human in blind judgment. If the electronic system can confuse the judge, it's considered a form of artificial intelligence. And while some were busy with logical reasoning machines, a new path to artificial intelligence emerged in the 1940s. At that time, two brilliant minds, Walter Pitts and Warren McCulloch, took a monumental step by publishing a study that described the artificial neuron, the first theoretical formulation of what we now know as neural networks. Inspired by the fascinating mystery of the human brain, Pitts and McCulloch sought to emulate the behavior of biological neurons through a mathematical model. Their groundbreaking work opened the doors to a new approach in the quest for artificial intelligence, one based on mimicking the natural nervous system. But their idea didn't just remain on paper. A few years later, in 1951, Marvin Minsky and Dean Edmonds brought SNARK to life, the first machine based on an artificial neural network. This pioneering device, though rudimentary, marked a milestone in the history of artificial intelligence. demonstrating that it was possible to build systems that could emulate, albeit in a primitive manner, the functioning of the human brain. Pitts and McCullough's artificial neuron, followed by the creation of SNARK, marked a turning point in the field of artificial intelligence. While previous efforts had focused on logic and formal reasoning, this new approach opened the door to exploring systems inspired by biology, capable of learning and adapting in ways similar to living organisms. But the journey wasn't over. Almost there, but at the same time, still far from it. We move on to the vibrant decade of the 1950s. As humanity entered the computer age, a group of visionaries gave birth to a creation that would once again change the course of technology. Alan Turing, Herbert A. Simon, and Cliff Shaw, three brilliant minds, embarked once more on the journey to endow machines with the ability to reason. In 1955, after countless hours of work, Logic Theorist was born, the first artificial intelligence program, though at that time, they themselves didn't know to call it that. This revolutionary software, powered by the early computers, achieved the unimaginable for its time, solving 38 out of the 52 theorems from Russell and Whitehead's monumental work, Principia Mathematica, a pinnacle of logical reasoning. But Logic Theorist wasn't just a math genius. It was like a first step toward making a machine think. Herbert A. Simon, one of its creators, thought this program could give a mind to a machine, something we now call strong or general artificial intelligence. This big moment didn't go unnoticed. In 1956, Logic Theorist showed up at the Dartmouth Symposium, where smart people talk about things that change the world. But before we get there, think about this. Logic Theorist started a journey that's still going. It's about making artificial minds that can do more than humans. Back then, it might have seemed small, but it planted the seeds for a tech revolution we see everywhere today, from virtual helpers to self-driving cars. And all it did was solve math problems. You know, throughout history, there are instances where the credit for creating new solutions in a field doesn't always go to the person who came up with them. Instead, it often goes to the one who names and applies them in everyday life. Even though Turing, Pitts, McCullough, Llull, Simon, and Shaw made significant contributions, the term artificial intelligence as we know it today didn't come about until 1956. It was during the Dartmouth Conference, called the Dartmouth Summer Research Project on Artificial Intelligence, that John McCarthy, Marvin Minsky, and Claude Shannon officially coined the term. At that conference, they started with the idea that the conjecture that every aspect of learning or any other feature of intelligence can, in principle, be so precisely described that a machine can be made to simulate it. Interestingly, McCarthy is also credited with coming up with the term cloud computing. Together with Minsky, they established the MIT lab where the earliest theories and prototypes of artificial intelligence were developed. Or, in simpler terms, people believed that it was possible to describe every aspect of learning and any intelligence trait so precisely that a machine could imitate it. In the years following the Dartmouth Symposium, there were many advancements in AI programming. Llull, Simon, and Shaw introduced their general problem solver, and in 1964, Joseph Weizenbaum, a visionary from MIT, came up with Eliza, a program intended to change the way we interact with machines. Basically, Eliza was an automated psychotherapist capable of engaging in conversations using natural language. Through a clever pattern recognition system and predefined responses, Eliza could mimic the style of a human therapist, returning questions and reflections that kept the conversation flowing. Now, we might call it the first chatbot. Sorry, ChatGPT, but Eliza stole the spotlight from you. To be honest, the story behind this chatbot is pretty funny. It all started when a computer science professor wanted to poke fun at the questions typically asked by Rogerian psychotherapists. Little did he know, his project would become a huge success and evolve over time. Eliza was meant to trick people into thinking they were talking to another person. It was designed to show how shallow communication between humans and machines could be. Eliza worked by picking up on certain words and asking about them, mimicking the behavior of a psychologist. For instance, if someone mentioned mother, the bot would ask for more information about their family, creating the illusion of real conversation. Now, let me tell you how Weizenbaum pulled this off. First, he had to figure out 5 main technical issues that Eliza needed to tackle. These included spotting keywords, finding a basic context, picking the right responses, generating suitable answers, and reacting when crucial words were missing. So, Eliza became what many call the very first talking computer program in the history of computer science. There's a story that Eliza passed the Turing test, but it's a bit tricky. You see, the original Turing test is more of a theoretical idea with different meanings, and it wasn't until 1991, with the Loebner Prize, that people agreed on how to test it properly. So, saying Eliza passed might not be entirely accurate, because there could have been different ways to interpret the test at the time. With or without the test, Eliza managed to fool many people into thinking they were talking to a real person. So much so that Weizenbaum himself was surprised to see how some even told personal things to his computer program when it asked them a question. That's why, even though Joseph Weizenbaum passed away on March 5, 2008, his legacy still remains strong today. Not just because of today's virtual assistants, which are descendants of Eliza, but also because his own assistant has been copied and improved, and we can find different versions of it on the internet. In the decades after Eliza's creation, bots continued to develop, although they were still in the early stages. But in 1966, we saw a new step forward with Shaky, the first attempt to build intelligent robots. Created by Nils J. Nilsson, it was a robot shaped like a rolling washing machine with cameras, 1 TV, and 1 telemetric. Just back when the word robot was still mostly in the realm of science fiction. Actually, the term robot wasn't commonly used in academic circles back then. To sound more serious and get funding, Shaky was officially called a mobile automaton. But let's face it, we prefer to call it a robot, don't we? What made Shaky special was that it was the first smart robot ever. Unlike its predecessors used on assembly lines, Shaky could plan its own path and move around a room, avoiding obstacles without human help. Instead of doing all the thinking on its own, Shaky relied on a big computer the size of a closet called a PDP-10, which sent instructions via radio waves to the robot's body. Back then, having a machine that could understand its surroundings and decide what to do based on that seemed impossible. Today, Stanford University acknowledges Nielsen as the pioneer of the algorithms used not only in self-driving cars, but also in the AI of many video games. In fact, a more advanced version of the AI algorithm, developed by Nielsen and his colleagues to help Shaky find the fastest route between 2 points on its own, is what has enabled the Curiosity rover to explore the surface of Mars. But the best part is that the fever for robotics and high technology had officially begun. But not all news was good. The major advancements after Dartmouth sparked enthusiasm, leading scientists to predict the creation of a general AI within a few years. However, these predictions didn't come true, and funding cuts plunged this discipline into the so-called AI winter of the 70s and 80s. Interest revived in the 90s, mainly thanks to a breakthrough when IBM's Deep Blue machine defeated chess champion Garry Kasparov. Until then, he was the undefeated world chess champion, arguably the best human player of all time. And yes, I emphasize human with singular emphasis. This was a pivotal moment in AI history. Cybernetic chess programs had been playing chess well since the 1970s, and had improved to the point where their level of play could defeat the vast majority. When Kasparov played against Deep Blue, the quality of chess software had improved rapidly. But most experts, including Kasparov himself, believed that the leap to defeat a grandmaster was highly unlikely. The chess match happened in New York in May 1997, and it lasted for 6 games. Kasparov won the first match, but was surprisingly beaten in the second. Kasparov was puzzled by the loss and accused Deep Blue of cheating during a press conference the next day. He believed that the IBM team behind Deep Blue had tampered with the machine during the game, which was against the rules. Before this defeat, Kasparov had underestimated the abilities of artificial intelligence, thinking that chess programs couldn't defeat a grandmaster like himself. However, Deep Blue used brute force search methods to analyze over 200 million possible moves per second, allowing it to win. The search space, all possible moves, would usually be narrowed down using pruning methods. This was important because in chess tournaments, players typically have only 3 minutes per move. However, no human could ever analyze 200 million moves in a lifetime, let alone a second. But Kasparov didn't worry about that at the time, because he believed his human intelligence and experience provided him with intuitive insights, so he didn't need to analyze every possibility. In fact, when asked once how many moves he analyzed per second, he said less than 1. This victory caused a big stir in the science world and among people. It showed clearly that AI systems could do things as well as, or even better than humans in tasks we thought only humans could do. Deep Blue wasn't just about chess. It showed how powerful computers and smart programs could be in solving tough problems. It made us realize how much AI could do, and it hinted at what could come next. Like machines doing things we never thought possible. As we stepped into the 2000s, we started seeing the first chatbots, recommendation systems, and more. They helped with customer service and other tasks, but they weren't perfect yet. They couldn't trick us into believing they were human. But what nobody could have imagined at that time was the revolution that was about to happen. Suddenly, artificial intelligence took off dramatically. Technologies that had never been seen before. How did this big jump happen? What drove this rapid progress in AI abilities? Well, you'll find out in our next video, where we'll reveal the amazing details of the whole story from the start of the new millennium until today. There's still so much more to explore. If you like this video, please give us a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. Remember to turn on the notification bell so you don't miss out on how this story unfolds. See you there.